Hey guys, it's Tony, and we're back on the bench. And this evening, we're knocking out more service projects. And right now, we're going to be doing kind of both a service project and a little bit of a restore project. So, this is a reel that I posted a video on not too long ago. I didn't really do a preview on it, but I used this reel because it had a broken handle knob. And so we did a replacement on that handle knob. And, if you're interested in finding out that process, you can check that out on the YouTube channel. But it was essentially just a little project of just taking off the old handle knob and attaching a new one in the best form that we could, at least. Okay, but now we've actually got a handle that functions, and it can make the reel function properly. However, this reel is in some major need of some service. Also, our badges have fallen off here, both sides, and so we're going to glue those back on with some of this 3M plastic emblem trim adhesive. You use this for automotive applications. Okay, but I find it works pretty good. But we want to break this reel down. We want to clean it really well. We want to get inside of it. I'm not sure what it looks like, but when I turn it, it does seem to have a little bit of a sluggishness to it, so we want to try to eliminate that. So we're going to start with taking this handle off, and we're going to dive into this reel here. So this is a Shimano GF-20, says there on the emblem. These are kind of rare, made in Japan. There's not a lot of them floating around out there anymore, I don't think. And so handle comes off like so, and then we've got a top cap here, and this is one of the older style single drag disc style drag systems. Nothing wrong with it. It's a nice big drag disc. Okay, under here doesn't look too bad. It's relatively clean. Okay, 3 screws that we're going to pop out next. And we're going to have a look at this, but I can see there's evidence on the outside of this reel. There's a lot of old dried up grease, like in the seams and stuff like that, and it kind of makes me wonder actually what's going on inside of this, or if it just got some grease on the surface at some point, like in the garage or something, and somebody with a greasy hand grabbed it. That's the one thing about fishing reels, is you don't always know all the stories that they have to tell if you purchase them secondhand. So cap comes off, and oh boy, yeah, this is a good example of what we would call over greasing, and it's very much not necessary. Okay, so we're gonna get this cam off here. We're gonna have a look at what this looks like here next. Got a stud here that needs to come out. It doesn't really seem to want to come out, which is interesting. There we are. The stud comes out, and we should be able to get our main drive shaft out, and then we've got our cam. Yeah, this thing is immersed in grease. Look at that. Terrible. Very, very terrible. So clearly we're going to be spending a lot of time cleaning this up, no doubt. And this is one of the style reels where there's no rotor nut. Okay, this is a clip that they put down here, or underneath, I should say, and then the pinion gear is actually attached to the rotor. I'm not a huge fan of that design personally, but it is what it is. Now, just to demonstrate here what we got going on, you could just see this is not good. Okay, This is way too much grease. It's probably not the right kind of grease either for the reel. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to pause the video just to conserve time. And what I'm going to be doing is taking some time with these paper towels and probably some degreaser. And yeah, I can tell just by looking at this, I don't think this is fishing reel grease. This looks like it's probably automotive grease more than likely, or something like that. Okay, not an uncommon issue though when you're working on fishing reels. But we're going to get all this cleaned up really well. We'll come back and we're going to walk you through the steps on how to rebuild this reel. Okay, so we're back, and I have to say this is probably one of the worst reels that I've ever worked on in terms of it being heavily over greased and being packed with the wrong kind of grease. The only way I can really describe it, and this doesn't even touch everything that was involved, but you can just see the mess here. Okay, I've done a few videos on this topic before. I'll just point it out again briefly in this video. You don't need to over grease your fishing reels. A little bit of grease in the right areas goes a long way, and that goes the same for oil. Okay, just lube across the board. And then also using the right kind of lubricants that are made for fishing reels or made for the marine environments. Okay, and most of them are not that expensive, and they're not that hard to come by. You can pretty much get all that stuff on Amazon these days. Okay, so what we've done here is we've taken our time with the paper towels, a lot of this, okay, and then some of this, toothbrushes, Q-tips, just basic household products. Okay, and we've cleaned up our inner chamber here. We've gotten all that old grease out, or as much of it as we possibly can, at least. Okay, and there's still going to be some residual stuff here, as I'm seeing right now. There usually is. Okay, but we want to get all that old grease out, and especially when it's not the right kind of grease. I'm not sure what was in here, but it was probably some form of automotive grease or something. Very, very tacky, very difficult to get out, and that's usually a problem, because if it's that thick and it's that tacky, it doesn't have the right viscosity. It can actually, create, mechanical issues, basically. Okay. All right, so we've cleaned all this up the best that we can. All right, we've cleaned up all these parts. We've cleaned out our gear teeth, all that kind of stuff. We've taken some 4-0 steel wool to some of these shafts here, make them shiny and smooth. Okay, so now we're ready to do some rebuild here. All right, so we're going to start simply with our inner chamber here. And once again, I'm just going to go through this with a Q-tip once more, because I'm still seeing. Yeah, you can just see how dirty this reel was. It was really, really filled with all this nasty grease in here. Okay, but we're going to take some Reel X oil to this lever right here, because this is metal on metal right here. Okay, just a little bit there. All right, and that's going to work its way in like so. Just a light bead there. Okay, a little bit goes a long way. Okay, and then we've cleaned up our rotor underneath here the best that we can. We've got a little bit of light film in there from some grease or some oil, but it's not going to affect much from what I can tell. Okay, we've cleaned up our pinion gear. The pinion gear almost looks like it's been a little chewed up, perhaps. That's not an uncommon problem with these pinion gears that are attached to these rotors, because they're usually made from softer metals. Okay, but we've done the best that we can with it, and it is functional. So we're going to take some PEM Precision Blue Grease. Okay, this is a product that you can use on fishing reels. It's made for fishing reels. Okay, it's made for main gears, pinion gears, spool shafts, and drag systems. Okay, you can get this stuff on Amazon. It's not that expensive. It's very reliable. Yes, there's other products out there. Just make sure that they're made for these applications. Okay, so we're going to put the blue grease on here, like so. We also took some WD-40 to the bail area here, essentially, and these bail seams, and we're just going to go back over these areas here just with a light bead of oil. This reel also has the cool feature of the bail fold, this lever right here, and then you can fold down your bail, and that makes it handy for storage and stuff like that. Okay, so lubed up all those parts real nice, and so now we can set this back into position here like so. And then we've got our security clip here that's going to go back like that. Okay, real simple. Okay, now we're going to take some blue grease, some fresh blue grease here, because this is where our stud is going to ride up and down for that cam. Okay, and speaking of cam, we've cleaned that up the best that we can, and it was immersed in a bunch of this old grease as well, so we got that out. Okay, and then we've got our main gear. Okay, we've cleaned up all those teeth, taken the 4.0 steel wool to the shaft. Okay, same here for 4.0 steel wool here. All right, we're going to take some blue grease right now to this shaft, this main drive shaft. Okay, there's really not much more you need to do here. Yes, you want to inspect this drag disc and make sure that it's not cracked or anything. In this case, it looks just fine. No issues there. So we're going to begin to slide this back into position here slowly. But now we're going to take our main gear and we're going to apply the blue grease here on the shaft. And then we're going to hit the gear teeth here like so. But yeah, it took quite a while to clean out all this old grease. And if it was the right amount of grease and if it was the right kind of grease, it wouldn't have taken half as long as it did. Okay, and we're going to apply a little bit here around where the cam is going to ride, right there. Okay, and we're going to slide this back into position like so. And then we're going to slide down our drive shaft here. Now we've got our cam, as we mentioned, and we got to line this up so that we get these holes lined up just right. And then we've got that pin. And I like to apply a little bit of grease on this pin here as well, because this is metal on metal application. Okay, so it should be like that. And you can test this at this point to verify that that's actually working right. I can tell already it feels a lot better. Just to top it off, we're just going to take a little bit more fresh blue grease just to the top of the cam where it meshes here. Okay, and that's all you need to do. You don't pack it, you don't load it up and pump it full of grease. You know, it's just not what you want to do. You got 2 shim washers here that are going to ride there. I'm just going to put a light bit of grease there as well. All these parts are going to move the grease around, of course. Okay, we've cleaned up our plate, side plate. I'll slap that back on there like so. We're going to take some WD-40 to those screws, and that's going to help protect those screws and the threads, more importantly. So as you can see, once you got it all cleaned up, it's really not that hard of a reel to work on, but doing the cleaning can be quite time consuming, and frankly, I can understand why there's a lot of folks out there that don't even want to bother. They just assume, oh, that's too much work. Yeah, it is a lot of work. I don't know if it's too much work, but you definitely have to apply yourself to doing the cleaning as part of the service if you're going to service a fishing reel. So that's what we're doing right here. But hopefully the end result will be is that this reel will have a lot of years left of fishing left in it. I want to say this reel is dated somewhere in the early 1980s. I'm guessing somewhere in that department. I'd have to do some homework on that. Okay, so we can put our spool back on, and then this plate goes on top. And this is just a plastic plate. That's part of the drag system. Plastic plate on top, and then drag washer down there on the bottom. Okay. The one thing that this reel is missing, which I forgot to note, is it should have a wire in here, a circular wire, and it has a tag end on it that sticks out, and that tag end is supposed to hit these teeth here, these plastic teeth, so that when it's paying out line, you know, when the drag is engaged, it makes the little click, 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 click. Unfortunately, that piece is missing. It doesn't affect the functionality of the reel, though. It doesn't give you that indicator of the click, which, you know, I happen to like that, but there's some people that don't like that at all, so that's okay. Okay. And then as for the handle, this is a foldable handle, as you can see here, and we just want to make sure that we clean this accordingly with some WD-40. You can see that some of this metal is breaking up here a little bit, which is not an uncommon problem for these reels. Do a little bit of reel oil here, as well as here, where that screw is going to go. And we'll take the blue grease to the shaft here, and that'll prevent any damage. And we got our handle screw. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this all back together, and then we're going to test it out, and then assuming that everything is working good, I'll pause the video once more and apply these emblems with some of that adhesive, and just to give you a hint of what that looks like. I have to admit, badges on these older vintage reels really makes a big difference with aesthetics, because frankly, looking at a reel like that has nothing on it, that's pretty boring and it doesn't have much to offer. Okay, so I'll try this out. Yeah, it's a lot better. Anti-reverse is working good. And as you could see as we took it apart, this is not a ball bearing reel. Okay, but we've got the dog click working, so that's good. All right, check the bail, make sure the bail's firing good. And this has the bail bumper right here. It's not internal, so it's pretty old school in that regard. And then as far as the drag is concerned, we just want to tighten this up here. Yeah, and that's definitely holding, so that works out really good. We're going to back that off so the drag doesn't hold any memory. Okay, now we're going to pause real quickly here. I'm going to get these emblems put on, and then you can have a look at that. Okay, so we just got done putting on our emblems, both sides here. Applied it with this 3M plastic emblem and trim adhesive that you use for cars. You can find it in any auto parts store. Okay, I find it works well because it's waterproof. Okay, but that's the finished product, and that is the Shimano GF-20, and it's all serviced and it's ready to go. So thanks again for watching. This is Tony with Back on the Bench. If you liked the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, please make sure you do subscribe and hit the notification button, and that way you'll get all the updates as to when there are new videos being posted. And I do intend to have quite a few more coming out shortly, so make sure you stay tuned for those, and we'll see you next time.